Welcome to the Customer Service University. This 12-part series equips CX professionals with the insights to excel in the industry. Join us as we unlock the secrets to becoming a leader in customer experience with guidance from top experts. Your journey to the top begins now. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're on Lesson 10, Building the Perfect Contact Center. With me today is Kaylene Eckels from eTech Global Services. Kaylene has a wealth of experience building teams within the contact center. I've had a chance to work with her inside the call center. I've seen her interact with teams before, and I couldn't be more excited to share her voice with you today. Kaylene, thank you for being here today to help us all learn about how to build the perfect contact center.
Thank you for inviting me, Dennis. Excited to be here.
You know, building the perfect, like who writes these things, okay? Perfect is such a high bar. But in all seriousness, I wrote that to really say that the perfect contact center, I think we could all agree, does not exist. But it is something that we all hope for. I don't think anyone goes into this business or works together on these teams at the pace and with the complexity that we do without having a sense of wanting to have perfection. And you coach and lead teams to that. So can we just start with the teams? Because no one person is part of a call center. Let's start the conversation by talking about the team dynamics and how they are. What role do the team dynamics play in call centers?
Team dynamics are vital. I always say it's a team sport. We win or lose together. And the dynamics of a team in contact centers are so important because they directly influence your metrics, what you're trying to accomplish. Things like operational efficiency, employee satisfaction, the quality of the customer experience. Positive dynamics lead to better outcomes, and successfully working through conflicts and just all the different dynamics on the team will make or break your team.
I love that. You know, that's why I'm on this show with you. I never really thought about that. If your team is having a bad day, your performance metrics are probably having a bad day. So if the team dynamic is so important, how do you work to and keep employees engaged in the contact centers and working towards this team play for positive performance metrics?
Effective strategies for employee engagement are really critical. You have to have clear roadmaps or career paths for your employees. You have to have a culture of transparency. You have to be great at communicating with your team. And you have to have regular feedback mechanisms, especially considering generations in the workforce. Older generations, they're happy with a quarterly review or annual review, but younger generations, they need that immediate and quick feedback.
Speaking of that feedback, let's talk about recognizing the employees. Maybe I have younger generation kids. So many people are quick to talk about the goals and how we get there and the measures. But what about recognition? What role does recognition play in the team dynamic?
Yeah, recognition is critical. We all need to know that we're doing a good job when we're doing a good job, right? And you have to have a comprehensive approach. And I would say you have to have a unique approach. I think about the 5 love languages. There's the 5 languages of work appreciation to really make sure that you're connecting with people the way they need to be connected with. And the 5 work appreciations, like I think it's tangible gifts or words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, and touch. So you have to connect with people immediately, to recognize them immediately and be specific with what they did and make sure you're doing it in a way that they can appreciate.
So if you have a great team dynamic and you're rewarding the employees with positive affirmations, let's say, then it's also important to enrich their knowledge or upskill the teams. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of development and training, and how do we as participants in the contact center, how do we make sure that everyone's well equipped to meet customer needs?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think first and foremost, it's important to recognize that training is a journey. Training and development is a journey. It's not a destination, and that we're all a work in progress. I know I'm a work in progress. My leader will tell you that. My leader will tell you that I tell him I'm a work in progress as well. So it's important that everyone understand it's a journey. And training and development in the contact center, it's critical to equip your team with the skills they need, the hard skills that they need, the soft skills that they need to meet the objectives that they have.
You put the training in place. So, how do you get those trained, great, dynamic, rewarded employees? How do you get them to stay and not, go and do other things? Do you have any advice on tactics that form a sense of commitment and loyalty among the team members?
Yeah, building a sense of commitment is so important for retention. And retention, there's no substitute for experience, and experience can help lead to, great outcomes, great customer experiences and interactions. We recently listened to a talk, a South by Southwest talk by Dr. Lori Santos. She's from Yale, and she talked about this Indeed study that was done. And Indeed has like 50 million data points. So we're talking about a big data set here. And it talked about what led to happiness in the workplace. And happiness in the workplace, and this was people answering themselves, right? So there was nothing in it for them, no carrot. They were just answering what led to happiness in the workplace. And what led these 50 million employees to say that they were happy in the workplace was three things. They answered yes to these questions. And it was, do people care about me at work? Do I have a sense of purpose? And do I have a best friend at work? It was shocking because I would think it would be, something different than those things. So I think it's really important to make sure that your team has a shared sense of purpose.
It's great advice. So now that we've talked about building the committed workforce, let's switch gears a little bit because you've shared with us a lot, but I think for the audience, it's helpful to put this in perspective. Can you give us an example of a case study where these sorts of ideas or strategies, how do they lead up to tangible success?
Yeah, there's a lot of case studies out there that are interesting. One particular thing that we've found success with is coaching to behaviors. When we're talking about upskilling and the journey, coaching to effective behaviors. And one behavior we identified that really is impactful is empathy. So making effective empathy statements and offer to assist. And when we used simulation training to do this, repetition over and over, practice over and over, again and again, what we found is that we were able to increase customer satisfaction by 12% in 30 days and by 20% in 60 days, just by practicing those statements over and over in a simulation environment.
Things as easy as just practicing these empathetic statements. That's great. So you have a great dynamic team. Wonderful. You're getting these metrics, but let's talk about team building, the challenges in building teams. What are the common challenges that you encounter in building and maintaining effective teams?
A lot of times different teams and different departments could have different objectives. And so it's really important to unify people under a shared vision, mission, values. When people have those things shared, you can find your common goal, your common why, if you will, and get people to work together to achieve results.
What happens when they're not being achieved? How do you overcome those challenges?
I think it's really important to identify the why, what's going wrong, and you have to address it quickly. Another important thing, I think it's important for the team to be able to work through conflict, and to work through conflict successfully, the best ideas have to win. You have to create a safe space where, trust is important in the workplace. And so there has to be a safe space where people can share ideas, but then also once a decision's made, they have to be able to align on that decision and move forward.
So true. And you're really talking about leadership. So let's just jump into the leadership conversation. How do leaders influence and inspire their teams to perform at their very best?
Again, I would go back to trustworthiness. You have to be trustworthy. You have to be consistent, be committed to integrity and empathy in the workplace, which is so important. Effective leaders will empower their teams also. Team members need to be able to answer yes to 3 questions, I believe. One is, do you care about me? Can you help me? And can I trust you? When team members can answer yes to all of those questions, they will effectively be able to work together as a team.
I was having a conversation just yesterday, and I was relaying a quote I had heard, and I say this a lot, which is, if you can't say it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And you're so good at just articulating these 3 simple things. Thank you for that. With all that said, thank you for sharing those ideas. Let's talk about what's on the horizon, because so much of what we've discussed today, it seems so simple, but if you take any one of the things you've said by themselves, it seems like duh. But what I think is important in this lesson about building the better or the perfect contact center is having all of these little nuanced pieces work together. And so thank you for sharing that. But having said that, what's on the horizon? Where does this go next? Let's say someone's watching this and they do all of this already. What's next?
Yeah, I think emerging trends in the contact center, of course, work from home is evolving. The technology to support remote work environments is evolving. Of course, AI, that's a huge buzzword, generative AI and creating simulations, and all of that is emerging in the workplace. So it's important to stay ahead of the trend there, or at least be adept at understanding what's available to you as an organization to help equip and support your teams.
Fair enough. All right, Kaylene, this is my favorite part of the episode, particularly for you, because I'm an admirer of your leadership in the call centers and in the industry. Can we just talk about advice you might have for others following in your footsteps or looking to be better at building teams and contact centers? What advice do you have for the audience?
I think one of the most important things I could share is to have a compelling why. We talked a little bit about that already, but if your why is so important, it will move your organization and your team will figure out how to accomplish what you need to accomplish. So have a compelling why. It makes your what possible, and your team will figure out how to get it done. I would also say I would encourage everyone to become a chief reminding officer, because a lot of times companies have a why. They have a vision, they have a mission, they have values, but it has to stay in front. It can't just be on a wall. So become a chief reminding officer for your team, and it will get them moving in the right direction.
Kaylene, thank you so much for your valuable insights. Audience, this has been Lesson 10, Building the Perfect Contact Center. Our next lesson will be Enhancing Agent Performance with Analytics. Kaylene, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us for this Customer Service University lesson. Discover how QEval can enhance your operations with real-time analytics, predictive insights, and comprehensive quality management. Visit qevalpro.com/learn to connect with our experts and exclusive support.